From angry protests after the police shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, to Eric Garner's chokehold death in New York, to the reserve officer in Oklahoma's mistakenly shooting a suspect, to the LAPD's killing of an unarmed man on Skid Row, there's an urgent and growing mistrust between some in the community and law enforcement.
Let's be frank. There is a national discussion that is happening based on some very high-profile cases, which is reminding us that this is an ongoing challenge for law enforcement.
California Attorney General Kamala Harris took the unusual step of gathering law enforcement leaders from around the state to announce new and improved training to eliminate what's called implied bias in police interaction with the public.
Everybody in this room has bias, and you will always have bias. But the point is that we want police officers to free themselves from that bias when they make decisions. And so that takes training.
The aftermath of events in Ferguson and elsewhere have highlighted a number of different things. That as far as race relations in our nations have come in the last 50 years, we haven't come far enough.
But critics say while what is essentially sensitivity training sounds nice, there's a better deterrent to police abuse: prosecuting officers, like South Carolina's Michael Slager, who shot Walter Scott after this traffic stop.
You can't keep doing this because everyone with a camcorder and a cell phone, they're going to capture you.
Attorney Caree Harper represented Marlene Pinnock, the woman seen on this cell phone video who was the victim of a beating by a CHP officer.
There's that one phrase that I feared for my safety, and they feel that's the get out of jail free card, and here in LA, that has worked consistently. They keep killing people who aren't armed, and why do they do it? Because no one is prosecuting them. If someone prosecuted them, they may stop.
Now remember, just last week we were on the air for hours with that pursuit of that stolen green cab, and residents were coming out of their homes to give high fives to the driver. Remember, one person came over and talked to us and said that they came out to watch because they wanted to make sure that the police didn't shoot the driver.
Right.
So that's the kind of thinking that we're talking about. It takes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of goodwill to rebuild relationships that are broken over one high-profile incident.
But I think you made an excellent point there. It's the prosecution of police officers that would go a long way, which is what we saw in South Carolina, why that police department is being applauded.
Which is very rare.
Right.
And so what they're trying to say today is they don't ever want it to get to that point. They don't want the interactions to be that controversial.
And here in LA, they're talking about relationship policing, where they're actually going to have officers in these public
Well, one of the things that Eric Garcetti talked about last week was setting up a formal division of community policing to formalize the relationship between, which are already ongoing, between members of the community and the police department. Chief Beck had one word for it today. He said empathy.
Empathy.
Want to develop empathy for what you're going through. You develop empathy for the difficulty of my job, and he said that will help.
Yeah. So if an officer is there for 5 years, is what they're saying, that they have empathy because they get to know the people in the community. All right. Thanks, Phil.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Dr.